Hi kids, Mr. Bloom here, coming to you from home, and I'm going to read to you my book, Walter and the Wallet. In Collingsworth, Connecticut, just lying on the ground, there was an old brown wallet that was lost, but not yet found. Now walking home from school that day was Walter Whippingdale, his shoulders slumped, his forehead creased, and moving like a snail. For Walter hadn't had what you would call the greatest day. This 9-year-old from Collingsworth was feeling rather gray. For starters, Mary Murple seemed to like another boy, and then in class he couldn't name a town in Illinois. He'd struck out during recess, and he'd lost his favorite tie. Then during lunch he'd slipped and gotten mustard in his eye. He almost got detention, and he broke his favorite watch. The pimple on his nose had turned into a big red blotch. Then leaving school, his awful day got even worse than that. He saw a dog meow, and he was barked at by a cat. So as he walked in sorrow, Walter stared down at his feet, and that was how young Walter saw the wallet in the street. At first he was confused by such a strange and shocking sight, but then he looked around him, to his left and to his right, and there was no one anywhere as far as he could see. And Walter thought, could something good be happening to me? He knelt and saw how fat it was, and knew within a flash the old brown wallet at his feet was stuffed with wads of cash, with 10s and 20s bursting out and 50s in between. It felt like he had found a private ATM machine. He thought of how this day had left him feeling like a goat, and so he took the wallet and he stuffed it in his coat. And as he walked through town, he laughed and held his head up high, and thought of all the many things his newfound cash would buy. He passed McDougal's cycles, and he saw a racing bike. He'd buy that 10-speed beauty when? Why, any time he'd like. At Spintinelli's Sporting Goods, the latest tennis shoes. He'd have those babies on his feet before the evening news. At Vergelmeister's Videos, the hottest handheld game. He'd play it before all the kids and put them all to shame. At Puffinhauser's Pastries, there were cookies, cakes, and more. He'd have a taste of every yummy pastry in the store. A rollerblader zipped on by, so Walter did declare, now that I'm rich, I might as well go get myself a pair. He'd buy up everything he saw, for after all he could. And then, despite the day he'd had, young Walter would feel good. While looking for the next thing that he'd purchase with his dough, he saw a man across the street whose head was hanging low. The man was nearly crying as he spoke to the police. His clothes and shoes and hands were all a mess of mud and grease. Now Walter, he grew curious. Why was this man so sad? And so he crossed the street to hear what made the man feel bad. I really need to find it. I just have to get it back. I've crawled in every corner, and I've searched in every crack. That's why I look so muddy, said the old man with a frown. It had my monthly wages. It was old, and it was brown. And right then Walter realized what the old man couldn't find. The bike, the blades, the tennis shoes went racing through his mind. He reached into his coat and touched the money, crisp and dry, and thought of just how good he'd feel with all that it would buy. He cleared his throat, then cleared his mind, and instantly he knew, with zero hesitation, just exactly what to do. Excuse me, sir, I think it's good your path and mine have crossed, for I believe I found the very wallet that you lost. And Walter pulled the wallet out and gave it to the man, who was so stunned he nearly fell into a garbage can. My wallet! Oh, you found it! You have truly saved my life! I'll pay the rent, I'll pay the bills, and won't upset my wife." And then the most surprising, unexpected thing took place, as Walter felt a giant smile grow upon his face. He didn't need the handheld game, he didn't need the bike, for now he knew what truly feeling happiness was like. He'd helped a perfect stranger, and it turned his day around. So feeling great, he turned to leave, but then he heard a sound. "Is that you, Walter Whippingdale?" a tiny voice inquired. And then the most amazing thing in Walter's life transpired. For out stepped Mary Murple from behind the wallet guy. "You saved my dad, I love you!" Mary shouted with a cry. And so an old brown wallet did determine Walter's fate. And that's how fast the worst of days can go from grim to great. The end. Thanks for listening.
Hello, this is a reading of The Nutty Little Vulture by Marta Magellan, illustrated by Mauro Magellan. "I'm hungry!" Little Vulture opened his beak wide. He was ready for the food Mom always fed him, but nothing came. "You're old enough to fly and get your own food," his mom said. "I'll teach you." "No, thank you. I'll find my own food." And he leaped from the nest. Flapping his wings, he tipped this way and that, flipped upside down, and finally flew right side up. Way ahead, he saw a group of bald-headed vultures on the ground, eating something. So down he flew, twirling and swirling until plop! He landed on something squishy. "Get off my food," Bald Vulture said. "Food!" Little Vulture took a big bite. Squish! "Yuck! Who eats squashy, rotten old meat?" "Humph!" Bald Vulture said. "Don't be nutty. If we didn't eat it, who would? I'm helping to keep things clean. Go eat Bearded Vulture's food if you don't like rotten meat." Little Vulture flew off as fast as he could. He soon spotted a vulture sporting a beard. So down he flew, twirling and swirling until plop! He landed on something hard. "Get off my food," Bearded Vulture said. "Food!" Little Vulture took a big bite. Crunch! Little Vulture spit it out. "Ow! Who eats dry, crunchy, hard bones?" "Humph!" said the bird. "Don't be nutty. If Bearded Vultures didn't eat the bones, who would? I'm helping to keep things neat. Go eat Egyptian Vulture's food if you don't like crunchy bones." So when he saw another vulture down by the river, down he flew, twirling and swirling until plop! He landed right on top of a giant egg. Crack! "Oh, thank you," Egyptian Vulture said. "You opened my food for me." "Food!" Little Vulture stuck his beak inside the egg. Slurp! "Ew!" The little vulture hopped all around, making a face. "Who eats slimy, slippery, raw eggs?" "Humph!" Egyptian Vulture said. "What a nutty vulture you are. If we didn't eat the ones who hatched, who would? I'm helping to keep things neat. Go eat Pink Flamingo's food if you don't want to eat vulture food." And off he flew. Little Vulture saw he was in luck. A flock of flamingos flew by. He flew after them, but the flamingos flew too fast. So he decided to fly back home to his palm grove. So down he flew, rolled and swirled, flipped and twirled, and landed on a palm perfectly. At least his landings were getting better. "Hey, little vulture, you're in my way. I was going to eat that." It was his mom. She turned upside down and plucked a palm nut from the tree with her claws. Little Vulture almost fell out of the tree, laughing. She looked funny. But it was food. He was so hungry, he hung upside down and plucked one. Little Vulture was so proud. "Look, Mom, I found something I can eat." And it wasn't rotten meat or dry bones or raw eggs. He was happy eating palm nuts from the trees and hanging upside down to get them, even if he did look a little nutty. The vultures in this book are all based on real birds. There is such a thing as a palm nut vulture. The little one, juvenile palm nut vulture, is brown like the nutty little vulture, and his mom was black and white, just like all adult palm nut vultures. Now, palm nut vultures are the only vultures that regularly eat plants. They never, when they're young, want anything to do with rotten meat, dead fish, or eggs, or especially crunchy bones. All they'll eat, like the nutty little vulture, is palm nuts, and that's why they're called palm nut vultures. When they feed on the palm fruit, they actually do hang upside down below the fruit, pull it off the tree with their beaks, and then hold it in their feet to eat it. That's also true. Now, other vultures can eat rotten meat because their stomachs can digest all kinds of bacteria. If we didn't have vultures doing these things, the world would be really in bad shape. We need them. They're our cleaners, our janitors. Now, here's an interesting fact. Egyptian vultures, like the one in the book, they don't usually have nutty little vultures flopping down into their eggs and cracking them. So they use rocks as tools to break ostrich eggs. They pick up rocks and throw them at the eggs until they crack. Just pretty smart for a bird, right? Anyway, that was the story of the nutty little vulture. The end.
Hi, this is Penny Eifrig. I'm the editor-in-chief at Eifrig Publishing. Welcome to Superhero Smiles. This book was created to raise spirits while also raising funds during this COVID-19 pandemic. The photos for this book were generously provided by Nathaniel Edmonds Photography and Daniel Sonnentag. Additional photos were supplied by friends and family sharing their superhero smiles, including the authors and the publishers' children, folks at the Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority, UPS, students celebrating their teachers in New York City, and teachers and students coming together from the Chicago Public Schools. Thank you to all of our friends.
Welcome. I'm excited to introduce to you my new children's book, Superhero Smiles. My name is Jenny Donatelli-Eim, and my children here inspired me with their wonderful smiles to write this book, especially for children like my son born with a cleft lip and palate. Superhero Smiles was written for all of our children during this difficult time, the unsung heroes of this pandemic, and also to remind them that our essential workers are truly the superheroes of today. All the proceeds will benefit UNICEF's COVID-19 relief. I hope you enjoy the book, and I hope it brings some joy and smiles during this uncertain time.
Superhero Smiles, dedicated to all our unsung heroes of the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. Little hint, it's you. Have you ever noticed when someone smiles at you, it's hard not to smile back? Sharing a smile can brighten a day and make someone feel good. Smiling at a friend who's sad might help them feel better faster than anything else possibly could. Smile on the outside makes your inside smile too. Smile every chance you get. It might mend your blues. Try skipping without smiling. It's kind of hard, don't you think? When you run and you play, it will brighten your day. And when you start smiling, the joy starts multiplying. Everyone has their own special smile to share. Go on and flash a smile, if you dare. Turn the page and discover the wonderful world of superhero smiles. We promise there will be no grimaces, sneers, or tiger snarls. Some smiles are big and some are small. Some show no teeth and some show them all. Some smiles are wide and shimmer with braces. Some folks like to smirk and make silly faces. Smiles come from police officers, firefighters, nurses, and medics who bravely support us through this COVID-19 pandemic. They all need some uplifting, so please share a smile and a wave as your way of gifting. Essential workers keep working so life can go on, so bend over backwards to show them how grateful you are. Grandparents and babies share smiles over video chats as new skills are learned and we wear silly hats. We are all missing our playdates and social connections, so we find new ways to check in with kindness and affection. Some smiles have scars from a boo-boo or cut, or babies born with a cleft lip and palate that the doctor carefully stitches up. When you can't spend time with friends, special days can be tough. But surprise drive-by birthdays will thrill you and shower you with love. Our military women and men march on being heroic while they continue to serve right through this pandemic. Graduations and track meets and dances and more are off for the moment, but will come back for sure. We can celebrate remotely and share social media smiles to keep our communities connected, yet safe, as we must do for a while. A jaw-dropping smile brings energy to a room, which moms, dads, and caregivers who are homeschooling will need really soon. Teachers make every effort to teach from a distance, using technology to view students' progress with creative assistance. Animals smile in all different ways. They like to act silly, like you and me when we play, while keeping us company on these sometimes lonely days. Keep smiling and waving as you walk by your neighbor. Social distancing, you see, is the new world order. Smiles, too, are infectious and contagious to others. Everyone smiles, even little sisters and brothers. So get ready to flash a smile and remember to deliver it with superhero style.
Where is love? Lovebirds chippered and chappered on the first spring dawn, chirruping out streams of love songs. All of the birds felt special, all except one. Lenny Lovebird did not smile. She did not tweet with glee. She only made a screechy, scratchy sound every time she tried to sing. Lenny heard the other birds spinning notes high and low. She sighed, "A lovebird without a love song, what am I doing wrong?" Just then, Lenny's mother swooped down from above. Lenny whispered, "Mother, where is love?" Mother Bird chuckled, a little perplexed. "You know that answer, I'll bet." "But I don't," insisted Lenny. "That's why I can't sing. The other birds have love songs. They clearly have more love than me." "Lenny," began Mother Bird, "you can't believe that's true." Lenny tucked her wings onto her hips. "Yes, I do." "Or maybe," Lenny said excitedly, "I just don't have enough." She then spread her wings and spun into the air. "I am off to find love somewhere." Mother Bird opened her beak to object, but Lenny had already disappeared. Old Owl always seemed quite keen, so that's where Lenny thought she'd begin. She knocked on the outside of his lumpy brown tree. A fluffy head poked out. "Whoo, goodness me!" "Owl, do you know where I can find love? I seem to be missing some." Old Owl cleared his throat. "More love, you say? Unusual indeed." Then he rubbed his chin and announced, "Love is in a strong tree trunk. Always has been for me." Lenny immediately set to work. She flitted from tree to tree, inspecting every trunk. She peered inside trunks and hollow limbs, but found no sign of love. Lenny sighed. She only saw bugs and dirt. Next, Lenny peered over a patch of tall grass. A pointy pink nose popped up and Lenny gasped. "Excuse me, Mole. Do you know where I can find some love? I am running low." The mole twitched its nose. "Love is safety, dear. Try a mole hole." "Great," said Lenny. "I see lots of those." Lenny tried to wriggle into many mole holes. She squishered. She scrunched. But Lenny simply didn't fit. She poked her head inside a few, but she saw no love, not even a bit. Lenny sighed. The holes just looked empty and dark. Just as Lenny got ready to leave, she heard a bzzz and spied a fat bee. "Hey," she called, "where's love for a bee?" "That's easy," it hummed. "In sweet honey, you see." Then it zoomed off, calling, "Follow me." Lenny zipped along with the bee all the way to its hive. She pecked through combs of honey, hovering until her wings grew tired. Lenny sighed. The honey tasted sweet, but left her all sticky. Lenny plunked down at the edge of a stream. On a stone beside her sat a turtle lolling. She tapped his shell. "Turtle, do you know where I could find a little love, if you don't mind me asking?" The turtle opened one eye. "I love having my shell warm." Slowly he grinned. "Try to find love from the sun." So Lenny leaned up against the turtle and closed her eyes. "Ah," she thought, "this feels nice." After a little while, though, Lenny's beak and wings felt hot. "Yeep!" she cried, jumping in to cool off. Lenny sighed. The sun only gave her a burn. Just then, Lenny stopped. She looked around. Nothing seemed familiar. She thought, how far have I gone? None of the trees answered. I want to go home. Lenny sailed on the wind as the sky turned dark. At last, she spotted familiar bark. Mother, called Lenny the moment she arrived. Lenny, thank goodness, Mother Bird cried. As Mother Bird held Lenny tight, Lenny smiled. They fit just right. Suddenly, Lenny felt something weird. A tickle. A prickle. A tingly sort of thing. Then a sweet love melody poured from her beak. Mother Bird smiled. Looks like you found love. Lenny nodded. She had indeed. Safe as a molehole, strong as a tree, warm like the sun, and sweet as can be. The end.